The summer heat pressed down on me like a hand I couldn't shake. I was sitting on the front steps of a house that no longer felt like home, staring at nothing, feeling even less. That's when the screen door creaked open, and a woman I barely knew walked toward me with a glass of lemonade, and a look that told me she saw right through the smile I was faking. She set the glass beside me, leaned in close, and whispered words that cracked something open inside my chest. I know what it's like to feel empty. Before we get into the story, if you enjoy real, emotional stories that remind us of the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching your channel name, where small moments can change everything. I had moved to that quiet suburban street in Ohio just 3 months earlier, right after my life fell apart in a way I hadn't seen coming. My marriage ended quickly and painfully. One day we were planning a future, and the next day I was loading boxes into a borrowed truck, trying not to cry in front of strangers. The house I rented was small and beige, with squeaky floors and walls so thin I could hear my own thoughts echo. I worked remotely, barely spoke to anyone, and convinced myself I was fine. That's what adults do, right? They keep going. They don't ask for help. They don't admit they're lonely. But loneliness has a way of leaking out of you, even when you try to hide it. That afternoon, I had been sitting on the steps because the inside of the house felt too quiet. My phone was face down beside me, unread messages from friends I didn't have the energy to reply to. I was wearing the same t-shirt I'd slept in, telling myself I'd shower in a minute for the 3rd hour in a row. That's when I heard the door next door open. Her name was Clara. I'd seen her a few times before. We'd waved politely while getting mail or taking out trash, the way neighbors do when they're still strangers. She lived with her sister Emma, and they both seemed put together in a way I wasn't anymore. They laughed easily. Their windows were always open, music floating out. I expected her to just walk past. Instead, she turned toward me, holding a sweating glass of lemonade, the kind with real lemon slices floating inside. She smiled, but it wasn't the bright, forced kind. It was gentle, careful. "I made too much," she said. "Thought you might want some." I almost said no. I don't know why. Pride, maybe, or the fear that if I opened my mouth, something ugly would come out. But my throat was dry, and the sun was relentless, so I nodded. "Thanks," I said, my voice rough. She sat down on the step below me without asking, leaving space between us. That alone felt like kindness. No pressure, no questions. We drank in silence for a moment. The lemonade was cold and tart and sweet, grounding me in my body in a way I hadn't felt in weeks. I stared straight ahead, hoping she wouldn't look at me too closely. Then she said it, soft, almost like she didn't want the words to scare me. "I know what it's like to feel empty." I turned to her, startled. Her eyes weren't on me. They were fixed on the street, on nothing in particular. But her hands were steady, wrapped around her glass. "I lost my husband 3 years ago," she continued. "Cancer. Fast. Mean. One day he was teasing me about burning dinner, and the next day I was picking out an urn. I didn't know what to say. My pain suddenly felt smaller, but also sharper, like it had been named. People were very kind at first," she said. "Cards, casseroles, hugs. Then life moved on, and I was still hollow." She finally looked at me then, not with pity, with recognition. "I saw you sitting here every afternoon," she said. "I figured maybe you didn't need advice. Maybe you just needed someone to notice." Something in me broke open. I didn't sob. I didn't spill my whole story. But I felt my eyes burn, and for the first time since the divorce, I didn't fight it. We sat there a long time after that. The sun dipped lower. A breeze picked up. At some point, Emma came out and handed us refills without a word, like this quiet ritual had been happening forever. Over the next few weeks, small kindnesses kept finding me. A text from Clara in the morning. "I'm making soup. Want some?" A knock on the door with a slice of pie. An extra chair pulled out at their kitchen table when I finally accepted an invitation. They never pushed me to talk, but they listened when I did. I learned that kindness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't fix everything all at once. Sometimes it's just lemonade on a hot day. Sometimes it's sitting next to someone without trying to fill the silence. One evening, after dinner, Clara admitted something else. "I didn't bring you lemonade just for you," she said with a small smile. "I brought it for me too. Helping you reminded me I still had something to give. That stuck with me. I realized then that kindness isn't a one-way street. It heals both people, the one who receives it and the one who offers it." Months passed. I started taking better care of myself. I joined a gym. I called old friends back. I even laughed again, really laughed, over burnt cookies and bad TV shows at Clara and Emma's place. One afternoon, I noticed a new neighbor sitting on their steps down the street. Head down, phone untouched. The same posture I'd worn not so long ago. Without overthinking it, I filled a glass with lemonade and walked over. "Hey," I said, "I made too much." They looked up, surprised, then smiled. And just like that, the circle continued. Because kindness doesn't always come with grand gestures. Sometimes it comes quietly, in a glass that's cold and simple, offered by someone who understands pain without needing an explanation. If you're watching this and feeling empty, unseen, or alone, know this. It won't always feel this way. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness, given or received, can be the first crack where the light gets in. So today, if you can, notice someone. Sit with them. Offer the lemonade. You never know whose life you might change, and you might just change your own.